Other thing you'll notice from the 2 is any enemy that gets blinded by it will then have this little orange triangular diamond type icon above their head, indicating that you can use a finisher on them, which basically allows you to interact with them to do a significant amount of damage. Typically, this will kill any enemy in on-level content. It's not doing a ton of damage for the current moment for me right here, just because I'm using unmodded weapons to demonstrate, so I'm not automatically one-shotting everything, and I can actually show off these abilities. So something you can do with the 2 is when you do it, everything is going to be blinded, and you can just run around and hit X on everything or whatever button you have for your finisher. And as long as they have that icon on them, you can just do that and one-shot literally every single one of them. And then when it runs out, you can blind them again. They're unable to attack you. And you can just run around and whack all of them. So our 2 is basically going to be everyone around me. You're not allowed to play the game for a little bit. Whereas your 3 is going to be a CC. Similarly, it's going to stagger them real quick. It's not going to last for quite as long compared to the blind, but it is going to do much more damage than your 2. So the best way to think about it is that your 2 is going to be your hard crowd control. You want to take a bunch of enemies out of the fight for a very long time. Your 3 is going to be, you know, a little bit of lighter crowd control where you're staggering the enemies for a little bit, but it's much more damage-centric, much more damage-focused. Your 3 is also going to apply a slash proc to all enemies, which is that bleed damage over time that you're seeing. It is also going to ignore their armor, which is also very, very nice. So as you can see, that little knife in there, enemy slowly taking damage. That's that slash proc right there. So finally, we have the ultimate Exalted Blade, where you're going to pull out your Sword of Pure Light, and you're going to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff. Now, the way Exalted Blade works is you cast it, it's going to immediately take away a chunk of your energy, and then it's going to start draining energy slowly over time as you have the sword held out. Cool thing about Exalted Blade that I actually didn't realize for a while is that when you do your melee attacks with Exalted Blade, it's actually a ranged melee, so you can kind of see those arcing waves that are being sent out when I do my melees. So if I do that, it's like a ranged melee situation, which is really, really cool. So even from like all the way over here, I can send a bunch of attacks to enemies from range, which is really, really neat. As you can see, it just kind of over penetrates. It'll hit everything. You guys were telling me there's some more advanced stuff with the Exalted Blade. You're saying if I do a slide attack, it's going to blind everything. So if I pull this out and I slide. Interesting. Okay, very cool. So if I have my Exalted Blade out and I'm holding a slide and I do my melee attack, it's going to do this like circular AoE slash followed by the blind. Oh, it does drain a little bit more energy. So if we're looking at our energy meter and we do that move, our slide melee, yeah, it does look like it takes up a little bit of our energy. So we do need to be conscious of that if we're going to go ahead and do this move. Anything else about the Exalted Blade? Slash dash takes on traits of Exalted Blade. Oh, interesting. So if I do my regular one, this is my typical slash dash. Slicing up everything. One activation, very nice. You're saying if I do that with my 4, and then I do my slash dash, see what happens. Oh, I see what you mean. So the slash dash is sending the ranged melee waves from me having my Exalted Blade out. And it doesn't look like it's consuming any additional energy, which is very, very nice. Damn, I didn't even know that. This is why we make these videos. This is why we get into the weeds. This is why we do all the research. This is why we test all of this, because more often than not, there's always going to be one little tiny tidbit of information that someone's going to know that is going to be news to someone. That's why I love games that have this depth to them. That's why we're making these build guide videos, so that not only I can learn the game, but everyone watching here is going to be able to learn all these unique tips and tricks and whatnot as well. Because when you're playing the actual game and you're in an uncontrolled environment, it's so much more difficult to notice all these small nuances and intricacies. Now I'm seeing if you use 2 and then attack with 4, they take more damage. You've got combo counter stacks messing with the numbers. Oh, I see. I mean, I think we can just take your word for it, right? Because if we come down here into abilities and we look at tips, which these tips are always very, very helpful for every frame. Excalibur is immune to damage for the duration of slash dash.
What was that? I just got a spike of weird taken energy.
That was a chimera.
It must be the Ahamkara's avatar.